Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talking Books with Tanisha, Season 4. I am super excited about this next author that I'm going to be sharing with you. You might be able to tell from my background. I had to go back for the old school covers because those are the covers that I grew up with. Um, Today, we're talking about Judy Blume. And specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, because it's one of my absolutely favorite books by her. But I want to talk a little bit about the connection of Judy Blume, and then, of course, talking about my mom and the introduction of Judy Blume to my life. So I don't know if you can, I'm going to have kind of go over here on this side. I'm pointing to this cover right here with Peter Hatcher. If you know Peter Hatcher, you know. He is like the character, although his brother Fudge tries to take this story from him. Um, he's a character of Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And he is kind of like what started my whole love of Judy Blume. So let me first kind of go back and just reintroduce myself and kind of set the stage. I got so excited, I forgot to do that. I think I also forgot to do that in episode 1. Sorry. I'm Tanisha Brandon Felder. My one really beautiful joy, one of my really beautiful joys, I have my family and I have my daughter and I have my sons and all the beautiful things. But one of my favorite things that brings me joy is reading. And reading for me is not just like something that I do because I feel like I have to. I do it because I get so excited about the possibility of like the stories that I'm going to be told, what I'm going to be learning, what I'm going to be able to share with other people. And I love talking about books. And so talking books with Tanisha is really around having conversations around really great stories and hopefully motivating and encouraging people to find really great stories for themselves and to share those with the people in your life. So whether you are a little one or an older one, just finding a really great book is my purpose for you. And I'm hoping some of the books that I share with you through this show can motivate you to read a story you haven't read before, to find the author and read more stories by that author, and also to share with people the stories that you're currently enjoying. So all that to say, I still remember like it was yesterday. I was sitting in Duncanville, Texas, in my classroom at Bray Elementary in my third grade classroom, and I had just ordered for my very first Scholastic book order. And I remember that because I'd never had a book order before. We had just moved to Texas. This classroom was like brand new to me. People were not super friendly. Um, they weren't, I had a couple of friends, but it wasn't like I had a lot of friends. I was the new kid, and I also was one of the only Black kids in the whole class. And I just felt like, I wasn't quite sure how long I was going to be there, and I wasn't quite sure like who my connections were going to be. And I remember spending time with my mom, and we searched through like the little Scholastic book order, and we found this book. And the book that I remember the day that the book order came into the classroom, and the teacher walked in with the books and delivered the books to the students who had ordered. And the book that I got in my hand was Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And I remember because like the corner of that book was torn off, and I was like, should I tell them and get the book sent back? But if I do that, I won't be able to read it. I want to read it right now. So I remember like taking that book. I still have that book actually with a little corner ripped off. And I kept it. And that was my very first Judy Blume book. And I didn't know anything about any of her other stories, but I knew as soon as I started reading that first page and opened up the book and got to meet Peter Hatcher and his family, that I wanted to read everything else that Judy Blume had ever written. And that's kind of what I started doing. Like I started collecting her books. And I remember that Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing was my first book. My second book was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. This is my original copy. This is my book that I've had since I was super little. And then I had read Blubber. I read Then Again, Maybe I Won't. Otherwise known as Sheila the Great. I just kind of started reading them. I remember reading Iggy. Like there's just so many books that Judy Blume had that I feel like I wanted to have too. And part of my appeal with Judy Blume and part of the reason my mom, like, kind of got those books for me is because I felt like I could start identifying with the characters. No, they were not Black characters, although Iggy's house did have one of the only Black families that was kind of showcased and told in a Judy Blume story. And I remember reading that book and not really feel necessarily connected to the characters because of like their life, but I recognized that we shared something similar in the fact that we were both Black. And that felt okay, at least she's seeing that and she's recognizing that. But there was something about like reading the books that Judy Blume wrote that just spoke to like a young person. Like she knew what it meant to be 9. She knew what it meant to be 11. She knew what it meant to be scared of dogs and like scared of swimming like I was when I was younger. Like she just got it. And I became a lifelong Judy Blume fan. Like even when she started, she had adult novels too, and I read the adult novels as well. She's just a beautiful storyteller. And as soon as they announced that Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret was going to be turned into a film, I got really excited about that. And I did watch it, and I felt like it was such a true story of the actual book that she wrote. Um, Judy Blume is like a legend. And I think so many people right now that we're reading in young adult fiction have patterned and modeled their stories after the way she told stories, and the way she continues to tell stories. She has a gift of just like understanding her reader, and she makes it super easy to talk about her stories. So the book I'm going to talk about really briefly is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And this is a book that is really all about like there's two things I think it kind of is about. It's really about the kind of the discovery of what it means to be going through puberty as a young girl and kind of discovering like the different parts of like your body and your mind, your friendships, and navigating that. And then specifically for Margaret, she's really also navigating her religion. Like she's raised in a family where her mother has been raised as Christian, her father has been raised as Jewish, and neither of them are practicing their religion. They really want Margaret to have that choice. But in the middle of that, they've chosen not to be religious at all. And she's really feeling compelled and like kind of drawn to figuring out like who she wants to believe in and how she wants to believe and which way she wants to practice that. So we have the story of her really navigating this kind of journey towards religion. And Judy Blume's books, a lot of them really focus on like Jewish kind of heritage or like background. There's a few characters in her books that have that as a religion. And they don't talk about it in all of their stories, but a few of them very specifically have that as like a kind of a identifier. And as a person who grew up in California in the Bay Area, and didn't really have a lot of access to understanding like the deli culture or like, the synagogue or things like that. And her stories are based mostly on the East Coast. They feel like a whole different world to me. I didn't even understand necessarily what I was reading when I was reading Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret as a 9-year-old. I didn't quite understand like, what it looked like to be practicing some of the Jewish traditions that Margaret is talking about in the story. I also didn't like little things like when her grandmother brings like, delicatessen, like, to New Jersey. That's where Margaret moves from New York to New Jersey. And she talks about, like nothing like a really good, kosher pickle. I didn't know what any of that meant. Like I had no idea what that meant in terms of like what a deli is and like what a delicatessen, sandwich feels like compared to like a sandwich you might get somewhere else. Those were all things at that point in my life I just didn't have a lot of context for, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter because I knew enough to kind of follow along with like Margaret on her story. And as I got older and reread these stories, everything kind of started falling into place for me. Um, but Judy Blume has a way of like not shying away from like context or like stories or even like building in culture in her books. Are You There, God, Margaret also made me realize that it was okay like to be curious about, what's happening next for my body as I'm going through puberty. To really like not really feel like I need to shy away from like being open with my friends. Like it actually encouraged me to talk to my friends more. And the friendships that Margaret is navigating in this book, she gives us different examples of different kinds of friends. What it means to be honest with your friends, what it means to be vulnerable with your friends. I would say that my friendships have been modeled after how Judy Blume describes her friendships in her books. And I have really great friends today that I've had since I was very young. So um, I thank my mom for introducing me to Judy Blume because Judy Blume introduced me to like the love and joy of reading in a different way, like really through like, characters and stories and complexities. I had a chance to really think about what it meant to be bullied in the book Blubber. I had a chance to really think about what it meant to be fearful and let your fears drive you, and otherwise known as Sheila the Great. I had a chance to think about what it meant when your family might be like, threatened by divorce. From Then Again, Maybe I Won't. Um, Dear Mr. Henshaw was one of my favorite books. I remember that book so deeply. This idea, like, having this kind of like idea that you can be writing these letters to this person who like you think you're never going to meet, and they actually respond back to you. Like there's just so many stories that Judy Blume has written, and a couple of those are behind me. So I just want to thank my mom again for introducing me to Judy Blume, for that very first Scholastic book fair book that I received, or that book order book that I received. Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And of course, one of my very favorite Judy Blume books ever, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. What are you currently reading right now? What is helping you feel like you're being grounded and established and focused? Like, are there really good stories that are kind of on your shelf or waiting to be read? My TBR stack right now, my to be read stack is about this big. Can you see that? There's a lot of books. And someone made the mistake and gave me a gift card for a gift, $150 gift card for a book shop that was having a sale. So I have a bunch of books that are coming in right now. Elliott Bay Bookstore is a bookstore where I'm purchasing those books from. I like to encourage us to get our books from the local bookstores. So I will always tell you where I get my books from. So hopefully you can also, find a local bookstore in your area to support. We want to make sure we put money into our local bookstores, because those bookstores are really helping us keep the stories current and relevant to our communities. And we need them. We need them. So I hope that you are enjoying your reading journeys right now. Remember that there are people you can be sharing these books with. One beautiful thing about Judy Blume is that even though a lot of her books take place, like, in the 60s, 70s, I would say 70s and 80s, I don't find them to be dated at all. I find they're still really relevant. People still have these situations happening in their life. Kids are still kids and they're still going through things. And if they need to have a model or a lesson to learn from, I suggest you read Judy Blume. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please share out this with your friends. If you like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe. Please share the videos out with other people, but mostly don't forget to read. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and joining me. Till next time.